Can Portugal win the World Cup with Cristiano Ronaldo starting in their team? That is the question that we're going to answer, or attempt to answer, in this bad boy, a Portugal preview for the Qatar World Cup. Loads of previews all ready for you to devour on the JLA channel. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you get involved down below. Let's dive into this, because can they do it? Can they win the World Cup with Ronaldo starting? Portugal qualified for this tournament after beating North Macedonia in the playoffs. This was because they failed to win their group. This was a group that on paper they should have won. The sticking points for them were failing to beat Serbia twice and also a shock 0-0 draw against the Republic of Ireland. The question is now whether they are good enough to do something in the World Cup, or are the times that they struggled in qualifying a sign of things to come? So, what can you expect? Portuguese manager Fernando Santos is still in charge of the side and is now in his 8th year in charge of the side. The manager has had a lot of success with Portugal, having led them to Euros success in 2016, but also winning the 2018-19 Nations League. However, is it getting a bit stale for Portugal? Despite having a squad littered, and I mean littered, with attacking talent, there still seems to be a negativity around the way they play, and they can often come unstuck when in the pursuit of a goal. They did well in the Nations League, picking up some decent 4-0 victories against Switzerland and the Czech Republic. When chasing a game, they do lack the ability to turn a game around. They often concede control of the game early on against better sides, and both of the games that they lost in the Nations League were 1-0 losses, which is also the scoreline that saw them knocked out of the Euros by Belgium. Let's dive into formation, structure and tactical approach. We've come to expect a 4-2-3-1 by now from Portugal. Santos seems to not feel comfortable with his side without two defensive midfielders in his team, so that 4-2-3-1 does make sense. However, it also allows Portugal to fit in a lot of their best players. There is a case for a 4-3-3 with 2 8s, which would bring Bernardo away from the wing and into midfield, which would in turn allow Portugal to play another forward. This is very unlikely to happen, as Santos is a big believer in defensive structure and having that box around zone 14 when out of possession. For those of you who don't know, zone 14 is the area where most goals come from, which is just outside the penalty box. The problem with this style is that it limits how much Portugal are able to dominate matches. I wouldn't dare say this is just a theory, but if you are Portuguese, let me know if you agree with this, because this is a country of just 10 million people, despite being a juggernaut of football now. But they've always kind of been underdogs. And do you think, is that a bit of a factor when it comes to your football team in terms of how brave you're willing to be despite the amount, the array of talent that you've got? Let me know in the comments down below, guys. I think that this instills the sort of belief that they're not these global powerhouses. And despite having one of the strongest squads in world football, and their recent triumphs, backing that up as well, they don't completely go for it. They kind of go against that a little bit. This seems to be the case currently when it comes to the Portugal setup. The fullbacks in this team could be one of the difference makers. In the Euros, they had Nelson Semedo and Rafael Guerreiro starting for them. This time round, they'll have Cancelo and Mendes starting for them, which is a monumental upgrade. The ability of these two to get forward and put balls into the box is one of the most exciting aspects of this team. Mendes was one of their best players in the Nations League. He played 3 matches, created 2 big chances in that time, and also averaged 2.7 key passes per 90. He also averaged 80 touches per game, which shows how much Portugal want to get him on the ball and utilise him as much as possible. Cancelo on the other side was equally important in their Nations League campaign. The Man City fullback scored once and registered 2 big chances. He got 1 assist in his 5 appearances as well. And this all sounds great, but there is a but. Against bigger sides, that negativity from Santos, it does creep in again. And here are Mendes and Cancelo's heat maps from their 1-0 defeat to Spain over the summer. By having them pinned back like this, it does take a lot away from Portugal's attacking prowess, and is one of the reasons that they only created 0.67 XG against Spain. Bearing in mind, this isn't a particularly excellent Spanish side as well. If I was a Portugal fan, I'd be wanting this side to really take the game to the opposition and get the best out of their attacking fullbacks in every game, as well as trying to find, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo as much as possible. Which of course brings us on nicely to the main man in question. Is it possible for this Portugal side to be successful whilst also getting the best out of Cristiano Ronaldo? We've of course seen the struggles that Man United have had, and the general consensus is, although he scores goals, does he make Man United better? Is there a similar feeling when it comes to Portugal? You know, the best way to answer this is by looking at average positions. The first is from Portugal's previously mentioned 1-0 loss to Spain. It was a game in which they only had 37% possession. The second is from the 4-0 victory over Switzerland, where they had 55% possession. Ronaldo scored 2 goals against Switzerland, and here's why. Look how isolated Ronaldo is in the first screenshot compared to the second one. Now, I want people to look at Bruno Fernandes, who, when it was the Euros, we spoke about him, and we said that he might have struggles, and he went on to get dropped in that second game. So when you look at Bruno Fernandes' positioning too in these screenshots, you can see he's a number 8 in the first one, and in the second one, he's a number 11. In the second image, Ronaldo has support and players around him. In this match, he was able to get 5 shots on target and had a total of 50 touches. This shows that Portugal are able to get the best out of Ronaldo, but he can't do it all by himself. They have to be brave, and they have to give him that support. They need to take the handbrake off. Otherwise, you'd be better off starting João Felix, who has a lot more mobility and would be better suited to dropping deeper and receiving the ball. Key players. So again, we've touched on how important the fullbacks will be for Portugal this time around, and that they have a big part to play. We've also discussed Ronaldo and how he still has something to offer this Portugal side. But a player that I want to highlight is Rafa Leão. With Diogo Jota injured, Leão is in with a very, very good shout of starting in this tournament. And words cannot put into context how brilliant he was last season and continues to be this year for AC Milan. His ability to carry the ball with blistering pace makes him a nightmare for fullbacks. He's also 6'2", which adds to his game so much. And despite being tall, he's extremely nimble. There have already been comparisons to the early years of Cristiano Ronaldo, and I can understand why this is, because last season he scored 11 goals and assisted 8 in AC Milan's title-winning campaign. And mark my words, and I say this in another video, we talk about one to watch for every World Cup side, he is quite possibly a future Ballon d'Or winner. So let's answer that initial question from the start of this video. Can Portugal win the World Cup with Cristiano starting up front? Well, I think they can. However, they need to be braver, which is often not the case when it comes to international football. They need to allow Bruno to take a high average position and to do the running for Ronaldo if they want to unlock what Ronaldo is capable of, which is goals, and clutch goals too. They also need to give at least one of the fullbacks the license to go forward. The left side of Portugal with Mendes and Leão could terrorise teams this winter, but they need to be trusted to do it. If this happens, the sky is the limit. Right guys, go check out the Brazil preview, the England preview, the Argentina preview, all the previews, and the one to watch from every World Cup team. Look, all that great content, you might as well subscribe, hit that button. I want to get to 250k as soon as possible, maybe by the end of the World Cup. You can help me. Hit the like button as well, and I'll see you in the next one.